Hi everyone, welcome to Novita's New to Knitting workshop for absolute beginners. This is the second episode in the series and my name is Sari.
My name is Markus, and in this episode we'll be talking about the very basic. We'll be discussing what knitting actually is all about. Because this was a big mystery for me at least. I knew that knitting was done with needles and yarn obviously, but I sort of never got the hang of it, how it's done and how a knitting project evolves. So that's what we're going to, where to start and all that. So that's what we're going to look into in this episode.
And to make the start even easier for you, we have put together a starter kit that you can order on our website at novitaknits.com, and it includes 2 balls of Novita hyggewool yarn, which is enough for making a hat, which is our project in this workshop. And also you can choose between working with circular needles or double pointed needles. We'll be discussing this later in this series, and a sewing needle for weaving in the ends.
Well, let's start by ruling out a few things, or at least one thing, because there are a lot of ways to knit, but it's always done with 2 or sometimes more needles. Now, you may have seen someone holding a needle like something like this, like a pen, and working with the yarn, and that's fine, but that's not knitting, that's crochet, and it's made actually not with a needle, but with a hook. So crochet is a completely different technique, and we won't be covering crochet at all, just knitting in this workshop. So back to knitting.
There are also plenty ways to knit, and I think almost every country has their own way of knitting, and today we are going to show you the Nordic style of knitting. So it's actually called the continental style of picking. So you might have seen people holding the yarn on the right hand, so this is called the throwing method or the English style, but we are holding the yarn on our left hand and we are going through the stitch and picking the yarn on our needle and pulling it through the stitch to make loops. So the loops are called stitches, and every stitch becomes a new stitch when I pull the working yarn through the loop. So this is how the knitting evolves.
Yeah, that's actually all it's about. It's rows of stitches, and on top of those rows you make new stitches. So Sari started this project or swatch or whatever. Down here, this is called the cast on edge, and from there she's knitted all the way here, and you're soon halfway through a scarf or something.
Yeah, this is worked flat, so every time I reach the end of the needle, I turn the work and start over again on the other side. So this could be a scarf, for example, but for the hat we are going to be working in the round, so that means that we are joining the stitches in a round and going around the hat. Yes. Yeah.
So we'll never turn the work, and that means we'll never work it from the wrong side. But let's get back to the stitches, okay? You're making stitches, and you don't have to watch Sari's knitting very closely right now because we got these stitches detailed in the technique videos. But let's make one thing clear. There's actually only 2 kinds of stitches. There's the knit stitch and the purl stitch. And the fact is that they're both the same stitch, just worked from one or the other side. So each knit stitch is a purl stitch from the other side, and each purl stitch is a knit stitch from the other side. And that's all there's to it, really. You may have the idea that knitting is really complicated and there's a lot of different stitches and stuff. There's actually just 2 basic stitches, and after that, there are some additional things to learn, some variations, but they are actually just variations of these basic stitches. So all you have to do is learn 2 basic stitches and you're well on your way.
And we are going to teach those 2 stitches for you during this workshop. And those 2 stitches, as well as casting on and all the other techniques, can be found in our separate technique videos that you can find on the New to Knitting website.
Yeah. In the next episode, we'll be ready to cast on, because that's something you have to do before the actual knitting. You have to lay your ground and then start knitting. So that's
these stitches just don't magically appear on the needles. You have to cast them on.
Yes, and that's the theme for the next episode. We'll see you there.